Welcome to Golden Mastermind Seminars Radio with your host, Jeffrey Combs.
Good afternoon and happy pre-4th of July. Jeffrey Combs here with electric hair in the heat and air conditioning we're experiencing in Central California. So good to be here with you on 2-4 Tuesday. It's a beautiful pre-4th of July, July 2nd, 2024, year of our Lord. I have great content here this afternoon on pride and humility. It is a great topic that very few people cover, and I seldom cover this topic. In my 26 years of coaching and speaking, in my over 1,040 keynotes, I don't know if I ever even covered the topic. I just started speaking on it in the last few years on Facebook Live. And this is deep content coming directly from this book, Letting Go. On page 139, here we go. Page 138, there is pride. This entire chapter is devoted to pride and humility. So when someone says, I'm proud of you, it's a different context than the emotion of pride from the lower self, from the anxiety, fear, and doubt side of pride. Pride is what many people hold on to, and they are... Here's my wife here. She's going to join me here. So this is my wife. So good to see you here. My wife just dropped off some real espresso that she makes from our espresso machine. So she's on her way over to our second house to oversee that property. So thank you very much, Jonna. So pride and humility are the dualities. And so you want to be able to let go of your pride so you can be humble, so you can be in humility. And when you're humble, then you don't feel rejected. When you're in humility, you don't feel angry. So when someone doesn't pay you, so if you own a business and you have receivables out and someone doesn't pay you, or you own a business and someone promised to buy a product, or they were going to join you, or someone was going to come and pick up your junk, or whatever the situation is, and they don't show up, they're not standing you up. That's your pride. So what they did is that they over-obligated themselves, or they're pathologically lying to you. And as you have a better understanding of that, then you won't take it personal. You won't personalize the situation because you're able to be non-attached. And as you are non-attached, you are no longer the mind-body connection to the events that shape the feelings. And I see Diane Hunt is joining me here this afternoon. So good to be here with you. It's a breathe, release, and let go day. Every day is a great day to produce in a relaxed body. And Diane says, hello, love that blue on you. Thank you, Diane. This is the Cobalt Blue from Golden Mastermind Seminars Incorporated. And Diane, if you're joining me today, and Matt, you're joining me, the two of you have seen me speak almost 50 times. I believe Matt's seen me speak 50. Diane, I've known you for 10 years. So the two of you never saw me cover pride and humility in a live event. Now, this is a major chapter in this book right here on pride and humility. I just started breaking down pride and humility in the last 5 years myself. So chapter 9 is pride. And then in the same chapter, it goes right here on page 142, as you can see, it breaks down humility. And so it says right here, David Hawkins says, the truly humble cannot be experienced by a person who is said to possess it, because humility is not an emotion. As I have said before, the truly humble cannot be humiliated. They're immune to humiliation. What does that mean for you, me, Diane, and Matt? Is what it means as we continue to practice our sobriety is first. Recovery is the second phase of sobriety. And then consciousness is the third phase. So that's the trifecta. And the three of us, I know this, that we do this concurrently. So we're in this trifecta of it. So this is what we're doing right here, is we're practicing sobriety, recovery, and humility all in the same energy, one day at a time. And the key component of being able to be humble is to be able to separate those feelings from the autonomic reaction, which is called fight or flight. So when we go into fight or flight, we go into our reptilian brain. and we either want to protect ourselves or we want to fight. And so when you're in fight or flight, you're either cowering in the corner or you're in anger ready to take someone on. And it's in these emotions of fight or flight that we end up sabotaging our relationships. We end up being in conflict. We end up not being able to be humble enough to be grateful. We don't forgive. We hold on to grudges. We have resentment. And in that fight or flight reflex, we stay in the mind-body connection to the violations that happen to us as children. When you grow up in an alcoholic home, when you're an adult child of narcissist, when you're an accidental child, when you're not the golden boy or the golden girl, you're the butt of the jokes of the family, or you're the lost child of the family, or you're the stepchild of the family, or you don't really fit into that family, or you live in a family that's very unpredictable, then you're in fight or flight. And that fight or flight shows up in what's called performance anxiety. It affects your ability to be an athlete. It affects your ability to go on dates. It affects your ability to be a good student because you're so consumed with making mistakes that you live in mistake consciousness. And then you become a screw up, and then you become the FU. You know what that means. So you become that person also. And so then you're in mistake consciousness. And so you're more worried about making mistakes than you are creating a result. Performance anxiety. It's a very common commonality in sports, and many athletes live in that mistake consciousness, and this is why their careers aren't long-time careers. It also happens in the investing world, Wall Street, one-hit wonders, a multitude of situations, and many people live in that. So let's look at how pride is destructive. So if you're just joining me today, this is great content on pride and humility. So pride can be very destructive. There's more than one meaning in pride. So when I say, Diane, I'm really proud of you for packing your family up and moving to Utah, what courage it took to do that. And Matthew, when I was giving you compliments for what you overcame and the career you've built now, and David, when I tell you that I'm so proud of you, it's a different level of pride. That comes from endearment, that type of pride. But the pride that I'm covering today, that's imperative that you grasp and understand, is the pride that you hold on to that keeps you from being the person that you're capable of being. So pride can keep you from being grateful. Pride can keep you from forgiving. When we will hold on to grudges because we're holding on to pride. We will hold someone responsible for our own feelings. So when we hold on to that level of pride, then we're shutting down the whole. So we're in a vacuum, and we're not in the vacuum law of prosperity. We're in the vacuum law of despair. And so in that level of pride, you're in anger. And that anger is fueled by the word resentment. And resentment is actually a high level of it on the calibration of anxiety. It calibrates out high. The anger field is the highest level of emotion in anxiety, fear, and doubt. And so this is why sometimes you can actually produce an anger, but it's exhausting. And you're actually producing from the pissed off state, which also that whole term of the bladder and the prostate, that's a direct correlation to the inflamed family environment you grow up in. So when you're producing from that state, from that, it's exhaustive energy, it's not conducive to long-term production. It alienates great teammates because you can be that rock star producer expecting other people to produce like you, and that does not happen. And this is where, if you're a leader grower, you can't expect your team to do what you haven't done, and you also have to be realistic about the expectations that you put on other people. And the term meet people where they are applies to this, and that comes from humility. But when you're coming from pride, you have expectations of other people reaching the top, going for the gold, walking the stage. And so in that level of pride, you are setting yourself up to be disappointed, which then is the emotion of resentment. And this is when you let go of pride. Vince Lombardi had all these quotes that from the early 60s when he was the coach of the Green Bay Packers. And he used to have a term when pride mattered, and if you're not winning, you're losing, and winning isn't the only thing, it's everything. And in certain context, that is applicable in certain sports, but we're not playing for the Super Bowl or the World Series. And those of you who really understand what's going on behind the veil, that's all tainted anyway. And thank you, Josh. Josh just said, I am letting go of being the man. If you're letting go of being the man, please give us a high five here. If you're letting go of being the man or the woman, it means you're coming from pride. And I have discussed this with my top tier clients, is that the objective is not to be the man, it's to be our best man. Or to be the woman, I'm going to be my best woman. So my best isn't the best. So the term, I'm going to be the best, that all comes from pride. I'm going to be the best there ever was, that's all pride. Because there's always going to be someone better, so you're setting yourself up to be disappointed. Also, that level of pride comes from force. When you're in humility, you are operating in power. You're emoting and transmuting your power somewhere between 300 to 500 oscillations per second. And when you're letting go of control, when you're letting go of controlling your wife or controlling your husband or your significant other or your team, you're in humility. And then in that place, you're able to meet people where they are in a non-attached state, which is humility, with expectations. You don't have any expectations of the person other than to be their best self one day at a time. And you're able to watch how they operate, and you're able to let go in a very relaxed sense of humility, where you're not putting pressure on people to perform to a set of standards that are not capable of. And in that level of humility, you begin to attract your reality, quality, like-minded, success, and then you fill in the blank. Success seekers, people are seeking your input, your wisdom at a higher level of frequency. So meaning that your law of the few begins to increase. So in any level of attraction is based on the principle, the law of the few. So in that law of the few, you start to understand the 80-20 principle, the 90-10 principle, 99-1, 1%, 1/20th of 1%, etc., the law of the few. And for you to be that outlier, that exception, it's going to require emotional discipline. And that emotional discipline is one day at a time. It's the reflex of mastering the emotions of fight or flight. That's the separation. The emotion of fight or flight versus the quality of courage. Now, courage is not an emotion, it's a quality. You access courage to transcend across the bridge to love. So you're in the love of life, the love of self, the love of people, the love of God. You're operating that level of emotional state, that you're not in resentment. And in that level of energy, you will begin to attract more frequently the people who believe what you believe. Now, one of the most liberating aspects of mastering letting go is that you'll attract other seekers of let go who will show up in a higher level of frequency. And this is how you start to create the team culture, where a team comes together and then that team becomes a master mind, meaning one or more of like consciousness coming together for purpose, cause, conviction, goals, outcomes, etc. So that you're attracting virtually people who believe what you believe. Now, when you go behind the veil, down the rabbit hole, and you begin to really understand truth, and you begin to understand the playing field, you begin to understand the chessboard, you begin to understand the dualities, you understand the debates that happen, you understand the elections or the selections. When you begin to understand the selections and let go of the elections, and you have a better understanding of that insight, that wisdom, that information, that's when you can really be in humility and you're not worried. You're not worried about an outcome. You're not focused on what you can't control. You're letting go of being in control, of being out of control, and you're focused on being your best self. And then you're not worried about outcomes. You're not worried about other people. You're not worried about the future because you know that the future is in the distance and what is right here is the present. And in that level of humility, you're focused more on who you can be and what you can accomplish with people of like consciousness. And in that level of consciousness, you're attracting to reality frequently the team that you can collaborate with, that the results will happen, the centrifugal energy, the quantum leap, the rank advancements, the top tier clients begin to show up. The whole process becomes more easy and effortless because you're operating in humility. You're not operating in that pride. You're not in angst. You're not in anger. You're not in force, and you're able to let go. And you're also letting go of the worry of money. When you're worried about money, you're in pride. Because when you let go of that worry, because that pride is you have to have the money. It comes from force. Now, understand, I realize that we all require a certain level of money to be able to be in prosperity, but that money doesn't come from force or pride. It's going to come from love, joy, bliss. It's going to come from connection, value, service, repetition, experience. And the same situation when you're seeking a soulmate, a teammate, when you're seeking connections, when you're living in pride, you're trying to control the outcome. When your mouth moves and you say there's no good men out there, there's no good women out there, my leads suck, everyone I call doesn't have any money. When you operate in that level of force, you will attract your reality, the same situation, to fulfill your pride. And that pride means you get to be right. As you let go of being right and put more energy into being your best self, and you let go of the dualities of black, white, right, wrong, good, bad, win and lose, then you're less in pride and you're more in humility. And that true humility comes from being able to understand your character defects, being able to let go of being critical of yourself, worrying about whose feelings you're going to hurt, realizing that you're not responsible for other feelings, you're responsible for yours. You devote your energy to being your best self without feeling guilty or selfish. You're able to devote your energy into mastering the skills of letting go in a very relaxed body. And as you're focused on this energy, you're operating your highest self, not being selfish. And when people try to gaslight you, they do that by using guilt to try and control you. And if you let this happen, then you'll just continue to tiptoe quietly through life in the same situation over and over, attracting to reality the same people to fulfill the same set of feelings. That's why letting go is so liberating. And the most challenging aspect of letting go, I feel, is letting go of the people in your circle of influence that you hold on to and you have stories surrounding. So when you let go of enabling, over-obligating, doing more for others than you do for yourself, you're virtually letting go of that pride. You're humble enough to see the error of your way, and you're able to look at the character defects of this codependent situation that you've been holding on to. In true humility, you're able to see these character defects and practice the skill of letting go without worrying about how other people are going to receive you. It's very liberating if you can cross that bridge. If you stay in that worry, that overwhelmed worry of what are they going to say, think, be, or do, then you're still holding on to the same set of circumstances and feelings. When you access that humility, then you're virtually letting go. And you'll find that many of the people in that true humility won't even react to you because you're not going to react to them. When you stop reacting to the narcissists, when you stop reacting to the perpetrators, the violators, when you let go of the people who put you in a position to validate, justify, and explain yourself, you're in your true humility. In that level of humility, you cannot be humiliated, rejected, or feel abandoned. You are virtually letting go. You're in the separation between the feelings and the events that shape them, and you are no longer the mind-body connection to the events that shape the feeling. If you look in your email, if you're on my email list, I sent this out to you on Monday on pride and humility. The 7 key points to it are right here. Too proud to let go. It's a very common commonality. That's what many people live. They're too proud to let go of their job. They're too proud to let go of their relationship. They're too proud to move across the country. They're too proud to live their dream because they hold on to a set of circumstances, feelings, and excuses that keep them perpetuating the same set of outcomes over and over that fulfills the payoff. When doubt is addressed, pride is released. As you begin to really address the doubt that you hold on to, what you're virtually letting go of is your pride. My name is Jeffery Combs, President and Founder, Golden Mastermind Seminars Incorporated. Thank you very much. I'm going to hit the record button, and this call will be, or this Facebook Live will officially be recorded and available for playback. Have an outstanding afternoon, everyone. Much gratitude for you being here. Let go of your pride. Access your humility.